Hey everyone, Megan here from Attached Kids. So I just wanted to talk a little bit today about supporting the school transition that's coming up. So it's the end of August right now, and we have kids either going back to in-school or starting to do some online school at home. So this is going to be a big transition for a lot of kids. A lot of kids haven't been in school for a while now with COVID, and even here in Ontario we had the strikes before then. So I'm guessing that this might be a tough one for a lot of kids and a lot of families. So I just wanted to offer some strategies and some tips to try and make this transition into the school year a little bit smoother. So my first tip is getting back on the sleep cycle. This is so difficult. A lot of kids are staying up later because it's summer and we've been at home for so long. We've had kind of that summer sleep schedule a lot longer than usual. So if you're in that ball game, lots of people are. We've been up later, we've been sleeping in later. So it's a really great time, the week to 2 weeks leading up to school, to get back to that sleep schedule. We don't want to leave this to the night before or even the weekend before school starts, because it's going to be a difficult transition for a lot of kids to switch their bodies into wanting to go to bed earlier and being able to get up earlier. So we want to lock down that sleep schedule and make sure we're getting up at the time that we need to for school to get used to that again. The second tip is practicing the morning routine. So in addition to getting up on time, the time that you would need to get to school, it also can be helpful to actually practice that morning routine. So this might mean getting up, getting dressed, getting breakfast, brushing teeth, even putting on, boots or shoes or whatever we need, and getting out the door first thing in the morning. We might just go to the park, we might go for a walk around the block, but just that practice of actually doing the morning routine, getting things done that we need to do to get out the door first thing in the morning. That's going to be a lot different from just waking up when we need to wake up, but we're just watching cartoons for a little while. So practice that morning routine. That can really help set you up for success for that first week of school. And it can also help you troubleshoot the things that are not going well at all. So if you've noticed that maybe you have a little one who cannot remember all the things that they need to get done in the morning and you're constantly having to remind them, maybe a good idea would be to put a little list or a little schedule in their room that they could check off. Or if you're having a hard time remembering all the things we need to bring with us in the morning and we're forgetting things and running back into the house, maybe putting a list right by the front door to make sure that we have everything. If one of your kids is taking longer than usual to get ready, maybe getting them up a little bit earlier. So it's a great opportunity to troubleshoot some of these things, try and come up with some creative ideas to help make it a little bit smoother before we're actually getting to school. My third tip is to actually go and visit the school. Kids haven't been to school in a long time. They may not really remember what it looks like. They might be nervous to go back. Maybe they're going to a new school or going to school for the first time. Either way, going and just visiting the school can be really, really helpful for a lot of kids. And maybe you won't be able to go into the school and talk to the teachers, but maybe you can just play in the playground or walk around walk around the site a little bit just to get used to it again. It can really be helpful to actually do this first thing in the morning, right? So if you're practicing that morning routine and your morning routine is that you're going to be walking to school every day, why not tack that on to the end of your morning routine practice next week and actually do the walk to school? Maybe go play in the playground or walk around a bit and then walk home. Or you could practice walking to the bus stop if they're going to be taking the bus, or even getting in the car and driving to the school and then just turning around and coming back home again. So either way, kids are getting that practice of actually seeing their school and knowing how to get there. The other piece to that is sometimes teachers will be able to have kids come in and visit before school starts. So I know they do this often for junior kindergartens, and sometimes they even do it for kids who are transferring to a new school. And I've also seen parents be able to organize this for kids that are a bit more anxious or who have a harder time transitioning to schools, that they might be able to contact the school a little bit earlier on and set up just a very brief meet and greet or check out the classroom before the rest of the class gets there. So something to think about and maybe something to look into if you think it could be helpful for your kids. Okay, if you're practicing getting set up for school at home, so if your kids are going to be doing online school, something that I would recommend, my next tip, is setting up the homeschooling space before school starts. So this could even be a full week before school starts. Getting that space set up, figuring out where in your house is going to be the best space to do this. We want it to be somewhere quiet. that doesn't have a lot of distractions, especially if your kids have ADHD or they are easily distracted. We want them to have a space that they're going to be able to focus to the best of their ability. It's so hard for kids to focus on schoolwork at home. There's so many distractions all over the place. But getting them set up in this space, making sure that this space has everything they need. It has extra pencils, it has, all their, if they have textbooks or if they have books, things like that. Make sure that everything's there, that you know how to log into the first day of school, and that the computer is going to be working. Just get all those little things out of the way so that you're completely set up for that first day of school as best as you can be. My next tip for getting ready to do school at home is to start creating your school schedule. So right now, kids are at home, they've been at home for a long time, and they might have just been playing video games all day, playing with their friends all day for quite a while now. They might not have had to do a whole lot of schoolwork or had a whole lot of structure lately. And if kids are going to be learning online, they might be thinking that that's what their day is going to look like. They're going to, for a bit of a rude awakening, it is not going to look like that when they're back to school. They're going to have that school schedule. They're going to have those online classes that they have to be at the right time. So we might want to start by setting up a schedule with them, letting them know when you know from the teacher, or a general idea of, okay, so this is what we're doing in the morning. We're getting ourselves ready. We're having breakfast, and then we're going to the school area. And then you'll have a break around this time, and here's the activities you can do on your break. Maybe that's the time you can play your video games, go jump on the trampoline, or maybe it's just quiet time. You're letting them know what can they do on their breaks so that they have that to look forward to too, because they're going to be staring at all their toys all day or all their video games and feeling like they're never able to use them. But letting them know, when can you use these things, when is your downtime going to be, and when is your school time going to be. So my next tip for supporting this transition is to validate kids' feelings. This is a big one, and it's sometimes a bit of a tricky one. We want kids to feel like they're excited to go back to school, and we want to tell them all the wonderful things that are going to happen when they do go back to school. They might be excited. They might also be really scared. They might be scared about COVID. They might be scared about being back in the classroom. They might be disappointed if they don't get the teacher they want, or if their best friends are not going to be there with them. They might be feeling sad about that. They might be frustrated about having to wear a mask all day or not being able to sit with their friends at lunch. There's a lot of feelings that I think are going to be coming up around this. If kids are at home, they might be feeling left out, and they might really be missing their friends or feeling lonely. So many feelings could be coming up. So we want to do our best to validate those feelings, so that when we hear kids saying, I'm really nervous about this, or I'm worried, or I'm sad, or I don't want to go, instead of jumping to reassurance, right? So instead of jumping to say all the wonderful things that school is going to offer them, we want to really sit with them in those feelings and explore them a little bit, right? Talk about that scared feeling. Talk about that disappointed feeling. Let them know that you hear them by repeating it back to them. I hear that you're feeling really disappointed that your best friend isn't going to be there. And then we can move on to some of the positives once we've really sat with and validated some of those feelings. And then on the topic of reassurance, my next tip is not to offer false reassurance. So we don't know a lot of what this year is going to look like. I think we're all just kind of waiting to see what happens a little bit. And, that's just the way it is right now. We can't tell kids that everything's going to be fine and nobody's going to get sick, and it's not going to be a big deal to wear their mask all day, and it might be really, really hard for them, and someone might get sick. We don't know. So we want to just make sure that we're not giving false promises or offering reassurance that we can't follow through on. But to that end, my final tip is giving information when you can. So giving that information that you do have, right? Letting them know what the day is going to be like, what the different rules are going to be as you're finding them out. To really set them up to fill in some of those blanks for them if and where we can. So where we have the information. Okay, that's all for today. Let me know what your tips are down below in the comments. How are you helping your kids to get ready for this transition, and what do you recommend to other parents? And also let me know what else you'd like to hear me talk about in upcoming videos. Take care.